Something else I have to pick your brain on, though. So, of course, you go through this emotional roller coaster competing in the Olympics, but then you sign up for season 43 of Survivor. So, like, were you able to draw on anything from the Olympics or life in general to help you be a part of Survivor? Because now the mentality changes. You have to be strategic here in order to even compete in this wild event.
It's crazy. So, a little background on me. My mom is the biggest diehard Survivor fan there is. Never miss a season, never miss an episode. So she got me into it, at a young age. I was that stubborn 10-year-old, 12-year old saying, I don't want to watch this stupid show. But then I fell in love with it and never thought that I would ever go on. I mean, I'm the type of person, if I do not eat or I do not sleep, I am miserable to be around. And I knew I would probably be voted off first. But it was crazy because when I was in Tokyo, the head casting director had reached out to a couple of us Paralympians, gauging interest on if we wanted to apply for the show. And I was one of those people. He had DM'd me asking if I've ever thought about applying. And I honestly thought it was a joke. I didn't think it was real because it was just the coincidence of me watching it, me being a fan of the show. And I was also petrified because there's never been an above knee amputee on the show Survivor before. There has been two below the knee amputees. We are completely different, our disabilities. For me to be able to do Survivor, I need two different prosthetic legs. I mean, the below knee amputees that were on it in the past, they had one leg. You can go in the water with it, you can run with it. I need a waterproof prosthetic. I need a running blade just to run. So when he reached out to me, I just simply asked him, you realize I'm an amputee. I just want to get that out there before we have this conversation. And he was like, yes, I have eyes. I can see your profile. And he gave me a call. And I was just asking him all these questions. And he was like, listen, just because I'm reaching out to you doesn't automatically mean you're on the show. You have to go through the casting process. He was like, all the questions you have about prosthetics and stuff, we will figure it out together. And we will figure it out along the way. So I go through the whole casting process. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, they're going to realize everything that's going to come with me being on the show. And they're probably not even, they're going to think that it's not going to be worth it. So, I mean, when you go through the casting process of a show like Survivor, you can have interviews for 2 weeks straight, and then you will not hear anything for, a month or two. And then they'll come back at you and you have to go through another round of interviews. You have to go through medical. You have to go through a psych evaluation test. You have to go through all these different obstacles. And every single time you do an interview, you have to bring this insane amount of energy. Luckily, when they were casting for my season, everything was virtual. Typically, they bring everybody out to LA and you have to do it one-on-one. But
Right.
we did it all through, it was all virtual. And it was March of 2022. I hadn't really heard anything for like a month or two. So I was honestly thinking that it wasn't going to be a possibility because they were going to be filming at the end of April and May. So I was thinking, if I haven't heard anything, I don't think I'm going on. And the casting director texted me. He said, hey, can you give me a quick call? And I was like, okay, this is the moment that he's going to tell me they went with somebody else.
Yeah.
So he calls me and he's like, oh, what are you up to? I'm like, nothing. There's a blizzard outside. I'm snowed in. What are you up to? He's like, well, do you want to leave the blizzard and go to Fiji because you're on season 43 of Survivor? And I honestly
Yes to leaving the
just,
blizzard.
yeah. Well, no, I paused for a second and I said, I have to call you back. And when I hung up the phone, my fiance was right next to me. And I just remember talking to him about it and just saying, listen, I don't think I can do this. Like, I don't know if I want to do this. I was petrified because obviously Survivor is a social game.
Hmm.
They're going to look at, and it's a strategic game. They're going to look at me immediately and they're going to want to vote me off because of the fact that I have a prosthetic leg. Nobody's going to want to take me to the end because they think that somebody will just hand me the $1 million. Everyone's going to doubt my athletic capabilities because of the fact that I have a disability. I mean, you receive zero food when you're out there. So that means when I lose weight, my leg loses weight. So how am I going to be able to keep my prosthetic leg suctioned onto my body while doing all these physically grueling challenges, on top of maintaining the perfect social game? And then so I'm rattling off all these excuses, saying I don't want to do it. And I call the casting director back, and he is just not listening to any of my excuses. He could honestly care less at that point. And he just tells me, listen, we will help you along the way with figuring out your prosthetic legs. We will get your prosthetist involved and we will figure it out. And I'm still going back like with excuses, but then I'm thinking to myself, if I don't do this, go on this show, then who is going to? Who is going to show that positive
Mm-hmm.
representation for the amputee community? This is my chance to show the world what we're capable of. Does that mean I was excited? Absolutely not. I mean, I said yes to the show, but the whole month leading up to it, I could not sleep. I honestly was petrified. I was trying to figure out different ways that I could, better my chances of being out there. And so I honestly went the route of not eating a lot the whole month and trying to lose as much weight as possible so that I could try to adapt with my prosthetic leg.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go out there and I film the show. And obviously, I won't give anything specific away just in case anybody wants to go back and watch. But I will say this, I was not the weakest person out there. I think the thing that I was most scared of was, back at home, if I'm going through a difficult time or I'm scared or I doubt myself, I have people I can rely on. I have, my mother, my fiance, my coaches, my friends. Like, I'm not alone. Going out there on Survivor, they take your phones away from you. You have zero communication with the outside world. You cannot just call home one day and just be like, hey, I just need to hear your voice. Like, it's not possible. And so going out there, I was alone and I needed to figure out a way to, you know, believe in myself because every single adventure that I do, I am the person to doubt myself, but that always just gives me more motivation to do it. I can't explain it. I don't know why. But it really helped drive me. But then the strangest thing happened when I was out there is like you find other people to be your family out there. It's like people don't realize when they're watching these shows how much downtime we have. We literally only have each other to entertain ourselves. Like we just talk to one another. We get to know one each other. Like everything about everybody within the first 2 days of being there. And so getting home and waiting for the season to air, being sworn to secrecy, it was kind of scary because obviously you go out and you do this whole show and then you forget that there's cameras. You forget and then you forget about the whole experience in itself because it's a month in advance when it airs. Or no, it's 3 months, 3 months. So it's a crazy amount of time. And when I was watching it back and watching it live every single week, I told myself that if I could just help that one person that's going through a difficult time, the whole experience would be worth it. And the amount of messages that I would get every single week of, people who are disabled, people who are going through difficult times, parents that have kids who are disabled that watched every single Wednesday night and they would point to the TV saying, Mom, she looks like me. Maybe I could do the show one day. I mean, that's really what made the whole experience worth it. And it really made me grateful to have the opportunity to go on that show because it was bigger than just myself. I mean, it allowed other people to believe in themselves just for me going on a reality television show and struggling. I mean, the ups and downs that I went on that show. I am that person that will never cry in front of people. I think I cried like twice on reality television and I hated watching that back. But honestly, it was an amazing moment because it shows that everybody is vulnerable in different ways. And in my instance, I wasn't even crying about the fact that I was starving and that I was tired. It was during challenges where I was struggling with the physical aspect of something that I thought I would be really great at. And there were a couple challenges where I hit roadblocks and I had to figure out different ways to overcome it. There were challenges I would take my prosthetic leg off and do the whole thing without my leg on. There were challenges I would be in last place and I would fight my way to the front. It was an incredible experience and it was just something that I'm so grateful for because I look back and I think to myself, if I can do that, then and obviously answering your question, does how like just doing all these different obstacles help prepare me for this show? Yes and no. I would say for the physical aspect of it and being in shape and everything, that definitely helped, but nobody can prepare anybody from not receiving any food. I think it was the first 10 days before I actually got something in my body that wasn't coconut. I was literally eating
Oof.
coconut for the first 10 days I was out there. So just the mental aspect of that is crazy. And just finding different ways to be mentally tough and just telling yourself, make it another day, make it another day. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh. I couldn't even imagine trying to like put everything into context. Like you sound like you're somebody that prepares for everything, and that's not a situation where you can actually prepare for everything. So there's some
Yeah,
things that you
yeah.
have to like leave up to in the moment, and trying to put that anxiety at bay, but also being, like we talked about, the mental toughness, the strategizing. A lot of strategy goes into all of this. That is something that you can't prepare for. You just rise to the occasion in the moment. And I don't think
Yeah.
that there's a better motivation than this is bigger than me, because when you put yourself out of the situation, I think you remove all of the limitations, for one. And for two, you just realize how human it is being human. And that in itself, I think gets a lot of us over certain finish lines that we never thought that we would get past. I feel like you've had a lot of tremendous moments where you've risen to the occasion and committed to things that were bigger than you. That brings us perfectly to your foundation, Born to Run. We talked about the fun side of learning how to run, the things that you don't think about, but also the focus here is getting prosthetics to younger individuals. I know that my mom worked with a veteran group, and they've mentioned how hard it is to even get prosthetics, number one, to get the correct prosthetics, number two, so that you can have quality of life. Can you just talk about, the importance of this foundation, for one, and for two, how people can just help and be a part of something so important?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I had personally received three different specialized prosthetics from three different incredible foundations. And seeing the work that those foundations do and, giving back to the community, that really inspired me, and it resonated with me, and it made me realize that this is something that I really wanted to do. I wanted to be able to give back all the help and the support that I received and portray the message out to the world that if I can go through something like my accident and still live the life that I want, then 100% so can anybody else. And luckily, I have an incredible family. And with their help, I was able to start the Born to Run Foundation. And I think the main goal was just to donate specialized prosthetics to individuals who, you know, either are born with a disability, have something like an accident happen to them, and they just want to live an active lifestyle. They just want to live a regular life, whether it's going to the beach with their friends, going hiking, just different things, because it's crazy to think that insurance companies will not gift a specialized prosthetic like a running blade, because they view it as, it's something that is a gift. And but anybody with two legs or two arms can wake up and just go for a run without it being a problem. So I think the biggest thing is just the messaging that we want to portray out to everybody. And it's something that I never knew of when I had two legs. I never knew that it was difficult to obtain these prosthetic devices. And I think just spreading the word as much as possible. But if you're listening to this and this is something that you feel like you want to help get involved, there are countless amount of organizations, especially in the New England area. But other than that, it's just spreading the word. And I know that there are different states that are trying to get prosthetic legs incorporated with insurance companies. And I believe New Hampshire just passed a bill to get children kids and young adults under 18, they will gift them a running blade and they won't have to cover it. But I think we need to
Amazing.
do a little better than that. I think, just because you're over 18, it doesn't mean you're not capable of going for a run. I didn't start my career until I was, 22 years old. So that wouldn't have been able to happen for me if I didn't have something like a prosthetic leg donated to me. So I think it's amazing to see the very first donation that we did. I was a senior in college, and it was to a 2-year-old boy, and he just wanted a running blade so that he could play sports with his friends and he could just run around. And I kid you not, we were in the prosthetic office with him and his entire family, and he puts the running blade on and he started running down the hall like he's had it his entire life. And I had a flood of emotions hit me, because in part of it was I was jealous because it took me 2 weeks to run without being harnessed on a treadmill. And this little dude just put his leg on and he's running down the hall like
On.
he's had it his entire life. And two, just being there in that moment with him and his family and just having a part of his journey. I mean, it was a full circle moment for me because I was that one person that just wanted a, a running blade so that I could just get back to sports. So that just really inspired me to want to help even more amputees. And I believe we have donated from 2018 or no 2019 to now. We have donated about 38 different specialized prosthetics. We try to do 4 to 5 a year, and just getting to meet all the incredible amputees out there and hearing all of their stories, it's just so inspiring and motivating to me. And it's like creating a family, and I think that's really important, especially people who struggle as amputees or people with disabilities, because having a community sometimes it doesn't come as easily as it did for me. I mean, a lot of people don't have the same resources that I have luckily had, and I realize that. So I think it's really important to try to create a community so that other people who are going through similar situations can see it and they can become a part of the community. Because I'll tell you this, ever since becoming an amputee and being in this disabled community, I mean, it is just something that I'm so grateful to be a part of, because you go to a Paralympic Games or you go to a Paralympic track meet and you just watch the competitions and you watch these athletes with all these different types of disabilities perform at the highest level of not just people with disabilities, but people in general. I mean, there are tons of disabled athletes I know that are so much better athletes than people who are able-bodied, and it just shows that we are resilient. We are, just because we have a disability, it's not because we're broken. It doesn't mean that we're incapable of doing something. I have never woken up after becoming an amputee. I have never woken up thinking, "Oh my God, I have a prosthetic leg, so I can't do this. I can't do that." It's honestly the exact opposite for me. I feel like I have more drive and more motivation and more grit now being an amputee, because I know that it's the process that it takes to get there, and it's just being grateful for being a part of the community and just still having my life. I mean, waking up every single day and be like, listen, I'm still alive. This accident didn't kill me, so why am I gonna sit around and sulk at the fact that I lost my leg? I should be doing the opposite, and I should be embracing my life and tackling challenges and adventures head on.